Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I am your host, Hery Acosta. Now, I'm not going to lie. I am recording this at 12:20 in the morning. Reason is, now, I know this is an IUPUI shirt, but I did graduate from IU. Well, from IU Indy campus. My diploma says IU. Always been an IU guy. Ecstatic right now, not just as an IU fan, but as someone from Cuba. I am just ecstatic about everything that happened with IU this season. And just seeing the way Mendoza composed himself on that field, winning the Heisman, his story is just amazing. Very great, down to earth guy. Very excited to see what he holds in the future. Also, Kurt Signetti just turning this team completely around from having the most losses in college football history. Crazy season last year, falling a little short, but then this year everything just clicked and we were the best team in football, and we did it. We finally won a national championship in football. Everyone in Indiana right now, even if you're a Purdue fan, even if you're a Notre Dame fan, you got to celebrate the fact that an Indiana school has won the championship. Obviously it may not be your school, but we all got to come together for this. Us as Indiana sports fans have had our fair share of heartbreak recently, from the finals loss to the team I'm covering, to the Colts starting 8-2, ended up losing, to Purdue keeps falling short of the national championship in basketball. IU hasn't really been big in basketball in a few years. So this is just huge. Huge shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Click this scan this QR code up here for, make an account, use the promo code I'm going to talk about later, the basketball fan, to get $75 in bonus bets when you put your first $5 in. Very, very fun app. A lot of really cool things you can do on it. Last episode, I talked about the ladders and the drafts that I like to do. I've been really enjoying the drafts. Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. But it's always fun. You can win some really good money on it. And so just scan this QR code up in the corner. I'm going to hop straight into it. I'm going to talk today about the game that just happened. Pacers lost 104-113 to the Sixers. Another fourth quarter where we came short. Now, we didn't play bad, but we did have 24 turnovers. And I'm going to talk about the reason that we had so many turnovers in the next portion of the video. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that we, weren't firing on all cylinders this game. Now, Siakam had 4 turnovers, Nembhard had 5, Nesmith had 6. On the bench, we had a few, but nothing too crazy. But it all came down to the fact that the man himself, Tyrese Maxey, had 8 steals. And I'm not going to go too in-depth just yet because I want to analyze that, because 8 steals is absurd. It's a career high for him. Joel Embiid, once again, another big game, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 9 of 10 from free throw line. Dominic Barlow had 11 and 7. He's one that's been an underrated key pickup for them. Oubre had 18. Maxey obviously had 29, 4, and 8 on top of those 8 steals. Edgecombe, not his best game, but it's still 11 points. Jabari Walker had 5 points, 6 rebounds, 4 steals himself. Quinn Grimes had 5 points on 1 for 7 shooting, not his best game. Trent Watford and Adam Bona both got on the scoring sheet. For the Pacers, 24, 6, and 7 for Siakam. Nothing obviously out of the ordinary for that, but he was 9 of 21. 9 of 15 for Nembhard, who had 25 and 5 assists, but those 5 turnovers really hurt. Nesmith had 7 points, 11 rebounds, and once again, 1 for 9 shooting, 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. Now, I talked about a comment it was last episode, a few episodes ago, where we're talking about Nesmith going 1 for 12. Now, like I said, I love the confidence, but that's going to have to be touched up at least by next season. We need more consistency out of especially our starters, because these are the guys that are going to be in the starting lineup next year. Now, maybe Nesmith might fall out of the starting lineup. Matherin goes in if he, continues to actually play good when he's healthy, but he keeps just getting injured, and that's not really something that we want out of our young star. Off the bench, 10 points for McConnell. He's always going to show up, but just 3 points for Ben Shepherd. Bradley had a good game off the bench, 8 and 7. Jarris Walker 8-5, not bad. 4 for 6 shooting, which is something that you really want to see. Plus 2 blocks. Also, J Huff had 3 blocks. So continue blocking some shots, J Huff. You're doing great. But Micah Potter didn't really see any playing time. We have Cam Jones, Thompson, and Peter all on our G League team at the moment. They were playing earlier today as well. So obviously they're not going to be, suiting up for us, at least when they're down. But a few numbers to look at. We had more rebounds, more assists, but 18-4 in steals by them. We had nine to their 5 blocks, so good on that. It's just that 24-9 turnover ratio. That is something that killed us in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Those turnovers. There's 64 points in the paint. Jeez, every time I do these videos, I'm just talking about how we just cannot score in the paint compared to other teams. Now, yes, we made 8 more threes than them. They shot 22 more free throws than we did. And they also still made more shots than we did. So put those two together, we're not going to win that game. But their second chance points were a little higher than ours, even though we had more rebounds. Fast break points, 25-8 on them. We had 22 fouls compared to their 14. We did have a 10-point lead at some point in this game, but I got wiped out. But honestly, played with integrity, played with heart. Every game we go out there, we try our best. Not really going to talk about that Pistons game that I talked about last episode, just because we had, pretty much our whole G League on the court and just players that usually don't even get minutes. But this was a good game to analyze, as I did kind of go in and out of this game. Obviously, I was watching the national championship, but I still had this game on the side just because I wanted to pay attention to it too. But, not our best game, but also not our worst game. Now, let's talk about two-time All-Star and All-Star starter Tyrese Maxey. The Tyreses of this game are just going crazy because Halliburton is a dog and Tyrese Maxey's a dog, and they're both from the same draft class. Maxey, 8 steals. That's just absurd to me. And I was talking about the fact that he was averaging over a steal and a block a game. Out of nowhere, pulling up to 8 steals. That's just absurd to me. And just the fact that he also had a block. He had over 70 fantasy points today. If anyone plays fantasy basketball, or if you know how the drafts work on Underdog, it's based on fantasy points. Pretty much everybody who had Tyrese Maxey on their lineup won big today, because 70 points, you can have 2 or 3 players on your lineup entirely that don't get to 70 points. So huge congratulations to him on a career game. Now, obviously, this season has just been a career season for him. We all know what he's capable of. Huge season last year. But last year he was averaging 26.3, 6.1 assists, 3.4 rebounds, less than a block, and then just a little bit less steals. But this year, every number is just going up. 30 points, almost 7 assists, 4.5 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. He had a block in this game too, so that number is going to stay the same. So just humongous performance by the 2-time All-Star. And also Joel Embiid. Like, we know what Joel Embiid does against the Pacers. We know that he knows how to foul bait, not just our team, but in general. But it's more with the Pacers, because every time he plays the Pacers, I swear he's on the free throw line every time. You look at the TV again. You look away for 1 second. You look back. Oh, look, Joel Embiid's at the free throw line again. That's also kind of how it felt in the finals, just seeing Shea at the free throw line every 2 seconds. But, I mean, some players have good whistles. Some players know how to foul bait better than others. The stars are going to get the calls. And Embiid is a good free throw shooter for his size. Centers usually aren't the best free throw shooters, but Embiid's a great free throw shooter. He's going to make you pay from the line. He also had a 10 for 17 game, which very efficient, especially for not a fully traditional center, but he did make his only 3 today. And then the other performance I want to talk about, Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre had 18 points, 5 assists, 2 steals. Now, Oubre is an interesting player because back in the 2023-2024 season, he went unsigned for no reason up until right before the season started. He was coming off his sole 20-point per game season in Charlotte. Now, yes, those were empty stats on a bad team, but he got to Philadelphia, which Philadelphia is a playoff team. Now, obviously, last season they weren't, but they're usually a playoff team. He was averaging 15.4 points per game and 5 rebounds. Kelly Oubre is a good player. He is a heck of a scorer. He is a guy that can thrive in the starting lineup as your third or fourth best guy, or he's a guy that can be your best player off the bench. Either role, he has defined either role. Because back when he was playing, when he was younger, playing in Washington, he would come off the bench, give you 11, 12 points a night. Went to Phoenix, ended up raising his numbers to 17, 18 points. Had that season in Golden State where it wasn't his best season, but obviously, that team that he had was, he wasn't going to get a lot of touches with Curry, Clay, Draymond, Jordan Poole's rookie season. Just a lot of players on that team that weren't going to give him that touch, but he still had 15 points a game. And then went to Charlotte, had those 2 very good seasons. And now he's back to he starts most of the time. A lot of times he doesn't start if Paul George is healthy, but Paul George did miss this game. And it's just been between him and Dominic Barlow starting at, the small forward and power forward positions, because Barlow does have 27, 28 starts this year. And, I've always liked Kelly Oubre. I think he's actually a really good player. And I think he's someone that, I don't know, maybe we should look at getting some veterans off the bench. I do like Kelly Oubre. I think he's a good scorer. And he's always been a decent perimeter defender. So someone to just look at. Maybe that I'll talk about here later. But fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your money. Today I'm going to talk about one game. It's going to be the Rockets versus the Spurs. Now, Kevin Durant's projection is 25.5 points, while Wembanyama's is 22.5. Wembanyama's going to go higher. He recently had a 39-point game against the Timberwolves, and he's just been popping off recently. And I think that's just going to continue. I think he's going to go higher. Whatever Wemby's projections is, I would go higher on a lot of them, especially if it's blocks or rebounds. Recently, he has been putting up some crazy stat lines. Maybe rebounds, look at it more closer to game time just to see who's actually on the Rockets, because the Rockets are the best rebounding team in the league. I mean, they got Şengün, who can get over 10 a game. They got Thompson, who can get over 10 a game. Steven Adams can get over 10 a game, even off the bench. Tari Eason can get 10 a game whenever he wants. Jabari Smith can get 10 a game when he wants. Even Kevin Durant can get 10 a game when he wants. So overall, and they're also a very tall lineup. I mean, most of their lineup is 6'6" or taller. So just watch for that. But playing on Underdog is really easy. Just get on there, make your picks, win big money. Just use that promo code on the screen, Basketball Fan, to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Once again, that is code Basketball Fan. Underdog. Make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-877-8 or text 467-369.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the comment of the day. Now, the comment was whether I believe Nikola Vucevic will be, the main target in free agency, since he's really the only center that's going to be in our budget. My answer is yes. Now, we can give him a pretty decent contract, one that doesn't really break the bank, because Vucevic, is getting older. He's not the same Vucevic that was on Orlando, that was an all-star in Orlando. He's been a good player. He's always been a good player, but he is going to be 36 in October. So we're not going to give him a massive contract, but he's having one of his best seasons in the last few years, 17-9. And he's just been, pretty efficient, 50% from the field, 37 from 3. Now, his numbers aren't necessarily crazy, because he's averaged way more. He's averaged 24.5 in his career before. But he's also a guy that's very reliable. He's a double-double threat. He's a guy that can average double-double for a season. I would like to see him on the team. I would also like to see the Pacers go for a lot of other guys, maybe some young guys like a Walker Kessler or even a Donovan Clingan. If you really want to go, young, and if you want to go rebound hungry or people that can get a lot of blocks. And so there's just a lot of different players that we could really go for. Now, if we wanted to make trades outside of center, who would we go for? I'm thinking a player like Lauri Markkanen, just because he's kind of stuck in Utah right now, and there's really still a lot of value to him because he's still a guy that can get you a lot of points and a good amount of rebounds, and just overall, just someone who you would want on your team. But back to Vucevic, I would say yes. I think Vucevic still has a couple of good years left in him. I think he's gonna retire after his next contract. So if his next contract is 2 years, he'll be retired by the age of 38. If his next contract is 3 years, he'll be retired by the age of 39. Give him a cool two-year deal. Now give him not too big of a contract, because in case we want to trade him, you know how a lot of teams sign a player for a year or two and then use him as trade bait. We could always use him like a pick or two for a younger center, one that maybe we could utilize more in the future. Or if we grab Vucevic and the team is just doing really good, they pop out and start winning a lot of games. They start out maybe um, 15 and 8, 20 and 10, 30 and 15, which is something I really want to see next season, just because Halliburton's going to be back. Everyone's going to be on top of their game. Once Halliburton's finally back, we're going to have that team chemistry. It's going to be there. And I'm just very excited to see what this team can do with all these players back. So I do believe that Vucevic is going to be a top target, someone that is affordable, someone that's not going to be asking for a crazy contract, especially since he's not in his prime anymore. And so really like that question. I would prefer him just because he is a double-double threat, a guy that can grab rebounds, but he's also a guy that can space the floor. Because I know I was talking a lot about, when I first really started this channel, I was talking a lot about I didn't like the fact that Miles Turner wasn't a big rebounder. Jay Huff really isn't a big rebounder. And yes, they're floor spacers. But Vucevic is also a floor spacer. Nikola Jokic is also he's a floor spacer, floor general. Jokic is just everything. But Jokic can shoot the three and still grab you 20 rebounds in a game. So it's just implementing both sides of that game as a center. We also see Karl Anthony Towns at 20 rebounds earlier. Um, he's probably the best 3-point shooting center in the league. Definitely in recent history, one of the best 3-point shooting centers. Recently, he had 22 points and 18 rebounds. So he's a guy that's been averaging over 10 rebounds a game. But he's also a guy that shoots, this year a little bit down, 35%, but he's only a guy that shoots 40% from the three. So, just a guy like that, definitely be perfect for the team. And then last but not least, I just want to talk about, now I talked about the Pacers, which obviously it's the team I cover, but I did want to talk about Indiana football, because what IU has done is the greatest thing that any college football team has ever done in the history of college football. You go from the team with the most losses in college football history to winning a national championship, all because you brought in a coach who was win hungry and who played the transfer portal better than you could imagine. A lot of the players at IU are transfers. A lot of them, if the transfer portal would have started like being bigger about 8 years ago, IU would have gotten none of these guys, because no one was really going to IU. There was not a lot of money to be offered from a school that, just wasn't good at football, would just not win games whatsoever. Then they started winning games. Everyone's here. We grabbed the best quarterback in the country. He ended up becoming a Heisman. And then obviously was the MVP of the national championship. Big performance from him. He had 186 yards on 16 of 27 passing. Didn't throw a touchdown, but he had a rushing touchdown that was the most important touchdown in recent history for football. 4th and 5, beat 5 defenders to the end zone, got demolished, but kept the ball. Big touchdown. Proved why he was the Heisman. Proved why IU was the best team in college football. Now, the funny part was, this part actually kind of was interesting. Watching the pregame when the analysts were giving their picks, 3 out of 4 had Miami winning this game, which, okay. But one of them was Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame's head coach. Listen, I understand Notre Dame is probably upset that IU has a shot, but I mean, you coach in a school in Indiana. Root for the Indiana team. You're not even in a conference, so it's not like we're rivals. You guys beat us last year. We're not rivals. But Miami did play a heck of a game. Huge shout out to Carson Beck, 232 yards. Huge shout out to Mark Fletcher, 17 rushes for 112 yards. And then, once again, a big shout out to Malachi Toney for 10 receptions for 122 yards and that big touchdown. So, just overall, a really good game. That was one of the best football games I have watched in recent memory. And then just, being able to say my university won a national championship is just amazing, because I don't remember I can't remember the last time IU won a basketball national championship. At least I wasn't watching basketball at that time. But being able to win football is just amazing, especially when football was so dominated by SEC for the longest time. And then the last 3 years, it's been Michigan, Ohio State, IU. So back to back to back Big Ten teams. Big Ten is here to stay. We're here to just continue to dominate. Hoping that Big Ten stays a football program, since basketball is all over the place. But once again, huge shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Huge congratulations to IU football, Fernando Mendoza, Kurt Signetti, and just everybody on that roster for a super hard fought season. Only the second team in college football history to go 16-0. First was Yale in 1894. Back when very barely didn't even wear helmets and played football. It was just how it was. But as always, I'm your host, Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby. Go Sirs and go Hoosiers.